Hi, welcome to today's video. My name is Paul. So this week, as you can see, a couple of charcoal landscape drawings. I say drawings, maybe sketches would be a better word. They're not the most refined or finished drawings I've ever done, but I did enjoy the process. And as I said before, that's kind of the main thing with doing art, I think anyway. I actually did a few paintings and drawings, but I only really recorded the drawings. And from those recordings I created sort of two videos. This one for YouTube, and then the other one is just for Patreon. And it's going to be more of a technical sort of video, and it's looking at the composition of the two drawings. We'll see the second drawing in a minute or so. They're quite different in the sense that this drawing is pretty typical for most of the landscape drawings and paintings I do, in the sense that it's an open composition. So there's no one focal point. There's no one part of the drawing or painting that is different from the rest of the drawing. Whereas the second drawing that I do, it has a definite focal point, which is not something I often do, but it's interesting. So like I say, I'm just comparing the two approaches with a focal point or just with an open composition. And then this video, as I say, is more sort of I'm going to talk about a little bit about the background and the influence for the two drawings, and also going to briefly talk about an artist from the part of the world that influenced these drawings, and he was a colorist and sort of what colorists were. It's just an art movement from the early 20th century. Okay, well, without getting too deeply into geopolitics or the history of Ireland, which is very long, very convoluted, and not always very happy. Let's just say that Ireland, the island of Ireland, is divided into 32 counties. 26 of those counties make up the Republic of Ireland. It's an independent country, and then the remaining 6 counties in the north make up Northern Ireland, which is still part of the United Kingdom, along with England, Scotland and Wales. One of those 6 counties in Northern Ireland is called County Antrim, and if you imagine a sort of map of the island of Ireland, County Antrim is in the top right hand corner. It's quite close to Scotland. I can't remember the exact number, but I think the distance between the two coastlines is less than 20 miles. On a rare occasion, when it's a clear day and it's not raining, you can stand on the coast of County Antrim and quite easily see the coast of Scotland. County Antrim, I guess, is also famous, if famous is the right word, for the Glens of Antrim, where glen is just the Gaelic word for a valley. And there are, depending on who you ask, there are either 9 or 10 of these valleys. And they're very picturesque. And there's a nice coast road and things. And that's basically the sort of inspiration for these two drawings. They're based on not exact landscapes, but as usual, I'm not working from references, but they're based on memories and ideas about the Glens of Antrim and County Antrim. This second drawing, and this is the one with the definite focal point. You can see I'm putting in a small building, and this little building is being sort of swallowed up by nature. Bushes and hedges and things are growing up around the building, and it's inspired by a small village. Village is maybe a strong word. There was a small settlement near one of these glens in County Antrim, and the settlement was called Galbolly. It's now uninhabited. It's just derelict houses and buildings. At its height, there were about 60 people living in about 10 or 11 houses in this small, like I say, very small village. And it's well and truly off the beaten track. Even these days, the main coast road, and I say main coast road, it's only a narrow 2-lane road. You have to stop your car and start walking up the side of a very, very steep hill, through muddy fields up. It's not even a road, it's barely a track that leads up to the remains of this small village. The village itself, as I say, is now derelict and would have been completely forgotten, except that it was used as one of the filming sites for the TV series Game of Thrones. I don't watch TV, I don't even have a TV, so I don't really know much about these TV series. But I have heard the name, and I guess it's kind of famous. If I've heard of it, then it probably is quite famous. But like I say, they used, I guess, part of the village, or the remains of the village, for some of their filming. And that's really the only reason why anybody would even want to go there anymore, I guess. In the 1950s, the population of this little village had dropped 6 people, and by 2010 or so, the last remaining guy, he was a monk, and basically he was living as a hermit by himself in this little village. He passed away, I think, about 10 years ago or so. So now that's the inspiration for the drawing. As I say, it's trying to get this idea of an old house or something that's just being swallowed up by nature, and all the hedges and things are just growing up around the house. The area of the Glens of Antrim, there were a lot of artists in the past who drew and painted that area. Like I say, it is very picturesque in many places. But there's one artist in particular who's maybe most associated with the Glens of Antrim, in the sense that he was born there. So the paintings that he created, it wasn't as, if you like, an outsider. He was born there, he lived there. He did briefly attend an art school in Belfast City. However, he really didn't like the city, so he quit school and went back home again. Got married, had 4 children, and he was a professional artist. That's how he made his main income. He worked with oils, and he also did quite a few watercolor paintings as well. His name was Charles Macaulay. I'll put a link in the description below to a site where you can read more about him if you're interested, or see some of his paintings. As I say, he's often classified as a colorist, and the colorists was a small, I guess, mainly British art movement in the second decade or so of the 20th century, sort of between the wars, between the First and Second World War, I think, around about that time. The colorists, I guess they were kind of following on from the Fauvists in a way. So, and they were strongly influenced by Matisse, I guess. They followed on from the Fauvists in the sense that the way they used colour wasn't always in a naturalistic way or a representational way. They used colour in a more artistic way. And it's one of the reasons why I like the colorist movement and the Fauvist movement. Personally, I prefer the colorists. Although they were influenced by the Fauvists, they weren't quite as extreme, if you like, as the Fauvists. So they didn't really have like a pink sky or purple grass, but they certainly used colour in a more artistic way. If you've never come across any, it's definitely worth looking out for sort of colorist painters. A lot of them did landscape painting as well. And like I say, Charles Macaulay was one of these colorists. He's probably the best known colorist painter from Ireland, I guess. His paintings, like I say, he did watercolours, and one of his watercolours sold recently for almost £6,000, which is about $7,500 US. And you might think, well, that's not a huge amount of money compared to, say, someone like Picasso or something that's selling for tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars. But £6,000, if Charles had been able to get that for one of his paintings, say back in the 1950s when he was trying to keep a roof over his family's head and things like that, that would have been a huge amount of money. That would have been a life-changing amount of money. Back in those days, you could have bought a house and some land for that sort of money. He never became super famous. He never became very rich. I think financially it was quite a struggle for him and his family. And somebody once asked him, why didn't you move to somewhere like London or Paris or New York, and with a bigger art scene, and you could have made a lot more money and become famous? And he said simply that yes, he probably could have become famous and rich, but he may not have been as happy as he was. He was living with his family in part of the world where he was born as well, and he loved living there, and he was just happier being surrounded by countryside than being in a big city. So anyway, that was briefly Charles Macaulay. As I say, in the description below I have a link to, if you want to look at some of his paintings and things. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking through this sort of rambly video. Thank you for watching, and hopefully see you in next week's video.